News Radio KMAN is brought to you by Sunset Zoo. Memberships are a fun way to experience the zoo. Pick up your membership and enjoy the Sunset Zoo all year long.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast. Right now, 54 with a light rain. We're going to be in a high wind warning until noon tomorrow, with wind gusts as high as 45 tonight, overnight gusts as high as 60. Tonight, a chance of precipitation at 90%, rain and snow before 1 a.m., a chance of snow between 1 and 3. We will be in that blizzard warning overnight. Tomorrow, patchy blowing snow before 11 in the morning. After that, sunny and high near 42. Getting set for the game here on News Radio KMAN.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Again, if you don't mind, I just want to open up by kind of recapping what's happened the last 7 days, or even beyond that as well, even further back with, K-State baseball is just thumping all these either preseason top 25 teams, current top 25 teams on an absolute roll right now. Unfortunately, tomorrow's game has been postponed/canceled due to the weather that we're kind of already getting now, the high winds, the snow we could get overnight. So no game tomorrow for K-State baseball. Their home opener is now Friday against William and Mary at 3 o'clock. John Cena turns heel. Jerome Tang's relationship with Doug McDaniel couldn't be better, and he's now just such a believer in Doug on both ends of the floor. And the only thing I think can make it better is if momentum picks up for the 2025 recruiting for Jerome Tang. Oh, looks like that actually might be the case. Are things blossoming? Are we about to get an announcement here very soon about a riser for the 2025 class that has really taken off since summertime? Is a kid from Mississippi about to commit to K-State? I don't know. He was just here. Well, let's see what happens as we're with you for a couple of hours, folks. Mitch Fortner along with Cole Deutschendorf, who's across the glass. On our board today, we're live on YouTube. Search for News Radio KMAN and just click on the live broadcast there. You can watch it. Well, watch me live. And we're also on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcast. Wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm a Spotify guy for my podcasts. Wherever you listen to your podcast, search for The Game on 1350 KMAN. Jabroni of the Week coming up in this hour as well. Brian Smoller joining us in hour number 2 to kick it off at 5:10 to talk this start for K-State baseball and the hopes of K-State women's basketball winning, or at least hopefully making a deep run of the Big 12 tournament and their hopes of hosting in the NCAA tournament. And while we'll have Brian on, we're going to ask him about the Big 12 awards that came out for women's basketball today. I do believe that a couple of Wildcats got snubbed, and I do not agree with the Big 12 coaches on who they selected for Big 12 Player of the Year. That's coming up a little bit later on in this hour as well. Phone lines are open. Text line is open. It's the exact same number, guys. 785-537-1350 if you want to be involved in today's conversation. Of course, it's always a lot of K-State content. I will be leaving about halfway through this second hour to get to Junction City High School. Cole will take over for a couple of segments. I'm heading to Junction City because Manhattan High hoops tonight. Sub-state semifinal is the third time the charm for the Manhattan High boys basketball team as they've dropped the first two against JC. Junction City hosting Manhattan for a postseason game for the first time since 1992. I was 1 year old when that game took place, and I don't even know if Cole's parents were even together at that time.
I was spaced out. What was the question? I was loading up the text line.
Did your parents even know each other in 1992?
They were probably familiar with each other. They were not dating or anything.
Were they 80s kids?
They were, yes. 80s kids. That that adds up in my head.
How old were you when you were born? Or how old were your folks
I was
when
0.
you were born? Yeah.
When I was born in 2003. They got married in 98. They were pretty old for, I guess, I don't know how old what the average is. They were like 33 and 30 when I was born.
Okay. My parents were right around that age when I was born, so I can relate. Okay. To start out with K-State recruiting and the men's basketball team, obviously they took some pretty big swings. Leading up to this season, trying to recruit the high school ranks for 2025. The number one guy in the nation, AJ DeBonsta, it was close for K-State, at least it seemed that way. He's going to go to BYU. He has signed with the Cougars. Darren Peterson, the number 2, for the most part, the number 2 player in the 2025 class, picks KU. He signed with the Jayhawks. Cam Ward, not that Cam Ward, not the person that I voted third place for the Heisman vote. Not Cam Ward, out of the basketball side of things, high school recruit, number 49 in the nation, according to On3. He is now with Michigan State. Those were the notable ones. Seemed like the closest that K-State got the biggest bites on. It just unfortunately didn't happen. Cats took some big swings, and all of them were misses. So Jerome Tang and company making an adjustment, making a strategy change on who to go after. And honestly, it's probably one that just had to happen because who is going to be left if those that are maybe overlooked up until this year, and now they're starting to rise. They're risers in the ranks of college basketball recruiting for 2025, and that's who K-State is looking to pounce on. K-State had 2 recruits in town that would fit that mold, that criteria. They were in town for the Colorado game. They saw a win for K-State. One of those players is Xavier Wilson. He's from Columbia, Missouri. He's a point guard who loved his visit, according to the boys over there at K-State Online from On3 who talked to him after his visit. Really got to sit down with the coaches and talk about what each side needs in this, in being very transparent with one another. You like to hear that. He had recently also visited West Virginia. He has an offer from West Virginia, so the Mountaineers are in the mix as well. The other player that visited is 6'6" wing from Madison, Mississippi. He's a 4-star recruit, according to ESPN. Ashton McGee. He's a big wing. He's a big guy that puts up some numbers. He is a stat stuffer in high school, 24 points per game. Also had 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, shoots 57%. Not a great three-point shooter. Honestly, 33%. I mean, just kind of at the high school level here in Kansas, you shoot 33%. That's not too bad on 4 attempts per game. But obviously at the college level, you want that to be a much better number. He's an incredible athlete. And I told myself, moving forward, I really need to calm down when it comes to watching guys on film and saying things like, oh, this guy coming in going to be just a stud, going to take over. You're going to see him play such a incredible amount of minutes. I could say some kind of crazy things and over-evaluate guys. I get a little too excited after watching some film, and it's kind of like the same excitement. Either if this kid's a 5-star like Lincoln Curie, is a no-star, walk-on. You could show me enough film that I can get kind of exciting, especially with the development that comes into play. I certainly do that with football. But with basketball, I'm not as educated with what I'm watching necessarily. Like I'm educated, right? Plus, you also just don't see enough of the bad things, and it's harder to find that film, in my opinion, to go find all the film to watch on a kid and make mistakes and here and there. But Ashton McGee is quite an athlete. He's quite impressive. He really blew up during the summer, and then this year in high school, I mean, the numbers are just absolutely blowing up. He has, I believe, 10 Division I offers, but then now here comes the big boys like K-State that are now wanting to pounce on a player like this who's just rising when it comes to the recruiting services through the rankings. And I just to make a if I could make a baseball comparison real quick, because we just talked to a Mississippi kid last week who was overlooked in high school, should have been a Division I player, was not, went JUCO. Chip on his shoulder, looking to prove people wrong. 2 years there, he is now finally Power 4, Power 5, Power 6, whatever you want to call it, Division I player, and now he's throwing quality starts against top 25 opponents. That's K-State's Lincoln Sheffield. He's actually, as a matter of fact, he's only from a town 16 miles from where Ashton McGee is from. But Ashton's not being overlooked. He's now getting some of the respect he deserves, some of the attention he deserves. K-State just is the first to get there. And he visited List last week, and he announced on social media today that he's going to be committing today. And it was at 3 o'clock Central Standard Time on when he would be announcing his commitment at South Jones High School Gymnasium. Again, that was at 3 o'clock. I haven't seen anything yet. I don't know. I don't know what his decision is. As I refresh everything, there's nothing announced on his social medias. I don't think I've seen anything from the coaching staffs.
Well, it says tomorrow.
Oh, it says tomorrow. Oh, my God. Did I read that wrong? Oh, I'm an idiot.
You know, I'm watching his, I don't want to say film. I'm watching his highlight reel that he has on X. Holy cow. This dude, he's got.
You're right. Gosh dang it. I'm a ding dong.
He's got rocket boosters in his legs. I mean, I analyzed one of these clips, and I thought it was like an 8-foot goal. That's how high he's getting. It's absurd. If K-State could get this guy, I think you work on maybe that 3-point shooting and just jump shooting in general. This kind of athlete, I mean, you holy cow. I mean, it's just absurd how high he is getting on some of these highlight clips. It's absurd.
Okay, so I totally misread his tweet, but you're right. Tomorrow, that's why I'm not seeing anything. Tomorrow is the big announcement for Ashton McGee, and if he's going to be committed to K-State or not. But you get with the tone of what we're saying here, the momentum could very well be picking up. And we also learned as when it comes to another player for K-State that they've been trying to recruit, obviously, having here in town, and looking for a decision here very soon. They're hoping to get that from Xavier Wilson and Thomas Bassong, who's another player. He's from France, who is another one of those wing guys, 6'8", class of 2025. He's playing prep basketball, and he's really blossoming as that long, lengthy guy that they're saying like NBA things about him, but he's got that raw athleticism. Doesn't have the numbers that Ashton McGee has, but 16 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists per game. He kind of does it all on both ends. He's an elite defender that K-State is looking here to pick up here very soon. So K-State, could they get a couple of commitments this week and pick up some high school recruiting for 2025? Oh, my God, I can't let myself down that I didn't misread. I've been very bad about attention to detail this week for whatever reason. So that's on me. It makes me look bad, but we got to joke around for a little bit about it because it's kind of ridiculous. But yes, Ashton McGee tomorrow is going to be committing, hopefully, to K-State. He's certainly a heavy favorite. K-State's a heavy favorite for Ashton McGee to commit to K-State.
Especially given the timing, as we've talked about, the timing of his visit last week and then a week later, and he's announcing his commitment. I love to see this 2025 class starting to come together.
I guess better late than never. Tyreek Smith, who had the NIL issues with Memphis, never played for Memphis this year. He's been with K-State now for, I think, over a month. He's been able to practice. He can't play. He's not eligible to play. And considering Tyreek Smith, considering because we don't know if Max Jones is going to get that extra year or not because he played Division II basketball in that recent lawsuit with a Wisconsin player, a football player that was granted an extra year because of his argument about, with NIL and what he disputed about not getting those NIL advantages playing at a D2 level. He did have a special circumstance in his lawsuit because he did argue that he dealt with mental health issues because of the passing of a relative. So that is a kind of a special circumstance there. Because of that, we don't know how that's going to play into effect with these other Division II players in all sports. So Max Jones, or K-State's trying to do what they can to find out what they need to do to get Max Jones an extra year of eligibility. But assuming right now, if things just play out normally, that Max Jones is done after this year, K-State has at least 5 scholarships still to fill, with considering the rise in scholarships with the next calendar year for athletics. And that's with the number rising to 15. So there's now more spots to fill. You don't have to fill them, but there's those spots available to fill with scholarship offers.
I don't know if I'm alone in this sentiment. I know during the beginning of this recruitment cycle, going back to the later parts of last year, I was okay with kind of the strategy with trying to get as many, these upper echelon talents in the building. I think the way that Coach Tang compared it to was asking the pretty girl at the restaurant or whatever. You're never going to be afraid to ask them to dance or whatever. He said something along those lines, and I was definitely okay with that strategy. It definitely, the more, I don't want to say swings and misses, because there was definitely maybe some foul balls, what you could call them, if you're taking that that analogy, but you're continuing to not land on any of these top echelon, those high talent guys. So I was definitely a little concerned about maybe the trajectory of the upcoming class, but something like this to kind of get yourselves back on track and hopefully give yourself some momentum at the end of maybe the 2025 recruiting cycle.
Well, and if you could fill up a couple of spots with these late bloomers,
right,
that's still some pretty solid pickups. It's just not the number one recruit in the nation that you wanted, which I don't blame them at all for taking those big swings. They feel like K-State
100%.
belongs to be in those conversations with the best recruits in the country, and I don't mind that mentality at all, especially with this finally being like it's the final uncapped class that you can recruit and try to go after with all this NIL money that you have in your pockets to try to go get this top-end talent. They were close. They just got beat out.
And I think eventually you're going to get one. And once that first domino falls, and we'll see how it kind of happens with K-State football with Lincoln Kieran. He's maybe a little bit different because he's obviously a homegrown talent here in Kansas. But you got to think if you can get one on the basketball side, you can maybe start to roll some of that momentum forward as well.
All right, let's move on. Still to come, we're going to hear from Brian Smoller on his take on the start for K-State baseball. Women's basketball getting ready to play in the Big 12 tournament. They'll play Thursday at 11 a.m. against the winner of BYU and UCF. Is K-State right now hosting for the NCAA tournament? We'll get Brian's opinion on what K-State needs to do to for sure host the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament, despite all the chaos we had this past weekend for all the bubble teams that could potentially host. When we come back, let's take a look at the Big 12, the all Big 12 honors for K-State women's basketball. I think the coaches got a lot of things wrong, not just with K-State players, but with the Big 12 Player of the Year. And it reminds me of Big 12 men's basketball 2 years ago. That's coming up next on The Game.
You're locked into The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show comes to your radio every Friday morning at 10 a.m. We will discuss timely gardening and landscape topics to help you keep your lawn and garden in tip-top shape. Blueville Nursery has been your local landscape service and garden store for over 50 years, and we want to share our time-tested techniques with you. From vegetable gardening, spring and summer annuals, to shade trees and lawn care, we'll cover it all. You're welcome to call into the show to ask questions that apply to your own landscape or garden. Stay tuned to Blueville Nursery's Horticulture Hints radio show every Friday at 10 a.m. right here on News Radio KMAN.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's new construction or expansion, our team simplifies complex projects. We build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit McCownGordon.com.
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that.
Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store?
We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed.
We can.
I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that.
Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
Out here in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on earth. And sometimes that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up. You have trouble sleeping. Maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through, or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
The Native community is big for me. Makes me feel good to pass on our Arapaho traditions. My kids love going up to the Sundance. I like to tell people the Sundance is about family. It's about the tribe. It's not just about the dancer. It's kind of like life. As a Sundancer, I'm just one spoke in the wheel. I need my family there. I need my role models. I need my people there, especially my children. Coming in that door, my family is ready to see me and they believe in me. Before, I'd never seen that from my people. But now when I walk in that door and I see those smiling faces and they're happy to see me, that's special. With my 4 kids, all I ask for them in Arapaho ways is health and happiness. Nothing more, nothing less.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen on News Radio, KMAN.
There's a lot of history in the south end of Manhattan. We'll be joined by Sheila Ellis Gasper, of the Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, talking about the Yuma Street Cultural Center in Manhattan. Wednesday.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen. Weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio, KMAN.
I'm Cole Deutschendorf with a game sports update. Due to inclement weather, the Creighton at K-State baseball game tomorrow has been postponed to a later date, which has not yet been determined. Fans who purchase single-game tickets to Wednesday's game will be automatically refunded. All games this weekend remain as planned with William and Mary. K-State women's basketball saw a quintet of players named among the all Big 12 squads as the league office announced the 2024-25 Phillips 66 All Big 12 Women's Basketball Awards on Tuesday. Senior guard Serena Sundell was named to the All Big 12 First Team, while senior center Ayoka Lee earned All Big 12 Second Team honors, and senior forward Tamira Poindexter was named to the All Big 12 Third Team. Senior guard Jalen Glenn was named All Big 12 Honorable Mention, and sophomore guard Ziona Walker was named to the All Big 12 Defensive Team. With 5 different players earning a spot on all Big 12 teams, this is the first time in program history that K-State had 5 players on all Big 12 teams since the league formed in 96-97. This is the 10th straight season K-State has had 2 or more players earn all Big 12 honors. For the first time since 1992, 11-seed Manhattan High will play postseason basketball at Junction City. The Indians visit the 6-seed Blue Jays tonight in a sub-state semifinal. Pre-game at 6:45, tip at 7 on KMAN.
All right, let's recap here these commitments for potential K-State recruits for 2025 when it comes to men's basketball. After I dupe myself on Ashton McGee, he's going to be announcing tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And for out of Columbia, Missouri, that is Xavier Wilson. He's a point guard from Columbia. He'll be making his decision Thursday at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. So K-State could be picking up a couple of recruits here for 2025 in the next couple of days. So that would be tremendous momentum after it's been very quiet for the 2025 class, other than Tyreek Smith coming through the transfer portal. Already with the Cats, still, of course, work to do for 2025. This would be pretty big if they could pick up 2 high school recruits, and then, potentially it is transfer portal the rest of the way, but not quite sure. It could be another high school recruit as well. We'll see how it goes. I do want to kind of change directions here, go to Big 12 women's basketball for just a moment, as they have announced their All Big 12 women's basketball yearly awards has the conference. Like Cole just mentioned during the update, 5 Wildcats have received all Big 12 honors, and that's obviously a very solid number. So for K-State, for the second time in her career, K-State's Serena Sundell has been named All Big 12 first team. Phenomenal. Absolutely deserves it. It was also, of course, in the hunt for Big 12 Player of the Year. I didn't think she would get it, but she absolutely deserved to be in the top 10 of the Big 12. And, I mean, when it comes to the Player of the Year race, I mean, of the 10 players listed here, all of them somehow, some way had their own argument to be Big 12 Player of the Year. Now, she did not get a unanimous selection, which I think is crazy. But from what we've learned here in the years past, and including this year, I think there's some coaches that don't pay attention. But continuing on with the awards for K-State, Aoka Lee, despite missing over half of Big 12 play, she still gets second team honors. Tamira Poindexter gets third team honors. Honorable mention goes to Jalen Glenn. And on the all defensive team, you will find Wildcat redshirt sophomore Ziana Walker. Two things. The sixth player of the year goes to Yaya Felder of Baylor. I was hoping Terrence Sides was going to get that. But Terrence Sides, I bet you fell just short. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if Terrence was like second in the vote or something like that for sixth player of the year. But at the same time, I did feel like Terrence should have had honorable mention honors. For her three-point shooting, for her defense, her rebounding. I mean, kind of all around would do a lot as a player that's, 5'7", 5'8". So I thought Terrence deserved honorable mention, and I think there's no doubt that Jalen Glenn deserved better than honorable mention. I thought she should have been a third-team selection. So those are my two complaints for the most part. I think maybe, honestly, my biggest takeaway is who got Player of the Year in the conference. Now, before I mention who this is, well, I'll go ahead and say it. It was Haley Van Lith of TCU. I am not one of those people, and I'm pretty sure I'm in the minority here, but I am not one of those people that believe that the Player of the Year should go to a player that is from the team that won the conference. I'm not a believer in that. But a lot of people do feel that way. Like, that's the number one argument. She played for the Big 12 championship team. I get that. Great. But, if you look at the statistics, I think some would argue Sedona Prince should get it over Haley Van Lith. If it's somebody from TCU, Haley Van Lith is a phenomenal player. Olympic bronze medalist. Certainly one of the best players in the Big 12. There's no doubt about that. She was also named Newcomer of the Year. In my opinion, my pick would have not been Haley Van Lith, obviously. If I got a vote for Big 12 Player of the Year for these Big 12 honors, I'm going to go J.J. Quinterly. Not Serena Sundell. Not Haley Van Lith. I'm going to go J.J. Quinterly from West Virginia. And I think this is the same argument if you go back 2 years ago. Remember the race for Big 12 Player of the Year for the men's basketball side? Who won it? Jalen Wilson of KU, who I think should have won it. And I'm trying to do my best to not give you the purple shaded glasses. Marquise Noel. I thought Marquise Noel should have been Big 12 Player of the Year. Jalen Wilson did lead the league in points and rebounds. But for Marquise Noel, he was still third in the league in points. He led the league in assists. He led the league in steals. He led the league in minutes. He was one of the best in three-point makes per game in the Big 12. I mean, I could go on and on about the impact and how big of an impact and how important Marquise Noel was to his team. And I made the argument that Marquise Noel means a lot more to K-State than Jalen Wilson means to KU. And if you look at overall body of work, because you got to think about this as well, completely different positions, completely different styles of play. But Jalen Wilson was not, absolutely not, the impact of a player that Marquise Noel was on both ends of the floor. Marquise was extremely good on both ends. Jalen Wilson was a very solid player offensively. He was not the same kind of player as Marquise was. You can't even measure it up, not even close to Marquise on the defensive end. And I value both ends of the floor very much so. I mean, they're both, to me, very important. And that's where J.J. Quinterly just adds up more to me than Haley Van Lith. First of all, J.J. was second in the Big 12 in scoring. She was second in the Big 12 in steals. She got to the free throw line, I mean, heck, you can argue better than anybody in the Big 12. She equaled Haley Van Lith's output, when it comes to three-point scoring, especially in Big 12 play. JJ was 17th in assists, and that's where Haley got her, was the assists. Other than that, Haley Van Lith does not catch JJ Quinterly hardly anywhere. It's the assist that she has the advantage on. Both shot 45% from the field. JJ Quinterly, and this helps because of the style of basketball from West Virginia, but TCU is still a very solid team, defensive team. Haley Van Lith is not the first player I think of when it comes to the defense of TCU. When you just think of defense, Big 12, the first player that should come to your mind is J.J. Quinterly. I thought she was the Big 12's best all-around player. And so J.J. Quinterly is my pick for Big 12 Player of the Year. But according to who got the award, I'm in the wrong. But again, I value both sides of the court extremely high.
Well, yeah, and you look at, I have a couple of thoughts to add. You look at Quinterly was named as the Defensive Player of the Year in conference, and then also still doing what she did on the offensive end of the floor while being, according to coaches, the best defender, at least this season, in the conference. I don't know how you can look at that and ignore it. I also look at the roster around her. This is not to say that West Virginia had a bad roster by any means. Really good roster. They all play their roles extremely well. But you look at the all Big 12 first team, 3 TCU players, 1 West Virginia player being Quinterly. You look at, there weren't any other TCU players, I believe, on the all Big 12 second or third team. West Virginia had 1 on the third team with Jordan Harrison. So you could also say that Quinterly is doing more with less, at least compared to what Haley Van Lith did alongside Sedona Prince, Madison Connor, and all the shooters that they had on that team. Those would be my 2 arguments for Quinterly for the Player of the Year. And then also I want to talk about the Taryn side of it a little bit as well. I do think she should have been sixth Player of the Year, and I think it's because of her impact. I think when it comes to this K-State team, you look at the box scores, there might not be a more impactful player. Now you take away, obviously, your Serena Sundells of the world, but as in terms of, she's not Ayoka Lee, she's not Serena, I think she might be the 3rd most impactful player. You look at the box scores, when K-State is lost, it's part of it has been because Taryn hasn't played a great game. There's been games where Taryn has had a bad shooting game and K-State has won. There haven't been any games where Taryn's had a good shooting night and they've won. And looking at all these K-State losses, against Iowa State, she was 1 of 8 from 3. Against Baylor, 1 of 5. West Virginia, 0 of 4. Oklahoma State, 2 of 7. Colorado, 1 of 7. And then Duke, when her role was a little bit more limited, just 0 of 2 from deep. K-State hasn't won when she's had an off shooting night. Well, not just because of that, but when she's had an off shooting night, sometimes K-State hasn't been able to move the needle outside of sides. And I think that's another reason that you could have given her that award, because of the impact that she has had. And you could say that just by box score watching. I think obviously if you're watching the game, sitting down and watching them, you can see the impact that she has. It's pretty evident, possession in, possession out, and also then the growth that she had even on the defensive end throughout just this season, from last year to this season, yes, but also you can tell how she's growing as a defender, able to use her frame, get in there, get some steals. She's been a lot better, I think, with anticipation on the defensive end. That's allowed her to get her hands in a lot more steals, or just even impact plays, get those deflections. So yeah, I think she was snubbed, and I think Quinterly was snubbed too.
Well, I go back to like watching K-State play West Virginia and when K-State played TCU. One I obviously got to watch in person, and one was on the road watching on TV on a matinee on a Monday on Fox, which was weird enough. But I remember watching TCU, and I'm like, who do I fear the most with the ball in their hand? I think Haley Van Lith came in 3rd for me, because it was Sedona Prince, just because of her size. It had nothing to do necessarily with, well, it kind of did, but at the same time, even if Aoki plays, Sedona can stretch the floor. She'll kind of play all over, and she can be kind of automatic when she gets a little sliver of space and score at the rim. She's a problem for anybody. And then Madison Connor, because she is such an underrated player, she crushes threes. And the way K-State was playing defense, I'm like, oh, we got to make sure she's kind of covered up there. But it doesn't matter who she's playing. She just crushes threes, and she is probably the scariest shooter in the Big 12, Madison Connor. And when Haley Van Lith got the basketball, K-State brought all the pressure. Like, to me, she wasn't a scary player, and even watching her play down the stretch, to me, she still wasn't one of the scariest players on the court. For me, on both ends, when K-State was playing West Virginia, J.J. Quinterly went off on both ends. She was a problem. I couldn't stand her on defense because she is just a hound on defense. And then on offense, she is so good at, with her size and athleticism, she does not have size, but she has athleticism to create her shot and also just hit down open jumpers. An incredible performance. She was much scarier to me than Haley Van Lith was. So if you want to ask me, like, who would I rather play against? Well, I do like K-State's side of the bracket, but they will potentially run into both. Mm-hmm. They will. I'm pretty sure they're going to run into J.J. Quinterly again. And then Haley Van Lith. Well, where does K-State – how do I feel like K-State has the better shot against? It's TCU, not West Virginia. West Virginia can be just such a team that gets after you on defense. I do fear that. I fear their defense more than TCU, although TCU is very good as well. But if it's one individual player, I'm more fearing J.J. Quinterly.
Do you think that – so these teams played pretty late in the regular season, and Van Lith had 26, Quinterly had 13, and TCU won pretty handily. Do you think that might have had an impact down the stretch just because it was so late in the season?
Oh, maybe. The problem for TCU is it's not so much J.J. Quinterly. It's that the way they play defense, they just, for some reason, when they go on the road, they're just not as good. When they're at home, they're pretty solid. I don't think they lost a home game this year. But when they go on the road, they just don't bring the intensity like they normally do, or they just don't hit the shots. They don't really well. They're still the 4th seed. They finished tied for 4th in the Big 12 with K-State, but they got the tiebreaker because West Virginia won the only game that those two teams had. So in my opinion, J.J. Quinterly should have been the Big 12 Player of the Year. I would love to know how close it was, or who else.
Do they ever release those numbers?
No, they don't. Who else was close? How close did it come down to? Things like that. Did Serena Sandell get any votes? I would love to know that as well. But the coaches are obviously educated. They all played against them. But TCU won the Big 12 championship. So I wonder if Baylor would have won the Big 12 championship. How does that change the vote? Things like that. Does JJ get more votes because of that? I don't know.
I think part of it is kind of with the individual accolades with where it currently stands in sports, where typically, as you were saying, it's the best player on the best team, which I think it's tough to make that argument with Haley Van Lith just because there's so much talent on that TCU squad. But if that's the reasoning behind it, then I guess I understand it, just because, you look at how it works typically in the NFL and NBA, et cetera. It's the best player on the best team. Well, NFL quarterback on the best team. But I think that's probably a majority of why it went to Haley Van Lith, because you look at the counting stats and it's Quinterly, and I think it is what it is, and it's unfortunate for Quinterly, but I think she has a chance to maybe prove some doubters wrong, and hopefully not in the Big 12 tournament, but in March Madness potentially.
Let's take a break, and when we come back, we saw Brian Smoller joining us at 5:10 to talk more K-State women's basketball and K-State baseball's hot start in non-conference play. We'll get more on Jerome Tang and recruiting for the 2025 class. Is K-State about to make a major jump in filling up some spots out of the high school ranks with a pair of players this week? When we come back, it is Tuesday. Jabroni of the Week is crowned after these words.
Your home for K-State sports.
Deflected and intercepted. Justin McKinney with the interception. I just can't believe that play call.
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Join the original influencers, influencing for over 60 years, and discover how you can turn your passion for media and sales into a rewarding career. Manhattan Broadcasting is looking for creative, hardworking individuals who have a passion for helping businesses grow through traditional and digital marketing platforms. Qualified candidates should be creative, great at building relationships, and most of all, success-driven. Apply now at the top-rated media company, Manhattan Broadcasting. Send your resume to jobs@manhattanbroadcasting.com. Our client success is your success.
At Stormontville Health, our patients are our neighbors and our communities are home.
We invest in your health and our community by bringing high-quality healthcare closer to home. From our Wamego Clinic to our new campus in Manhattan and the Flint Hills Hospital in Junction City. Our partnerships with organizations like the Mayo Clinic and the Children's Miracle Network bring top-notch expertise to our region. We take pride in local collaboration to stay connected to our communities. Visit stormontvale.org.
Stormontville Health, high-quality care closer to home.
Suicide is often a silent struggle, but no one has to face it alone. If you or someone you love is feeling hopeless, remember, there is help and there is hope. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Together, we can turn pain into healing and despair into strength. Help is always available. Visit Pawnee Mental Health's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1558 Hayes Drive or call our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
The word father means a lot to me. Being that support system for them, and as a man, that's important in a child's life. I think men can be a little stubborn sometimes where they may want the help, they may not know how to ask. It's hard for a man to speak his emotions. Those tears, they mean something. In a Arapaho way, tears are water and water is life. And when you shed those tears, that's love. That's real love. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. Life can come at you really quick, and it can be really tough at times. But then you put that one foot in front of the other, and you keep doing the right thing. Slowly that voice goes away, you know? Arapaho way, you gotta pray for yourself, as well as for everybody else, but never forget yourself.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This is the Chef of Love, Chef Jannard, TV host and restaurateur. My grandparents harvested their land to sell food and share this overflowing bounty with our community. Grandma said, for every yam we pick, we give one away. In the world they cultivated, I love preparing and eating dinner with my family on Sundays. When our resources changed, food assistance programs sustained us. They gave me fuel to start my first culinary business at 16 years old, and inspiration to donate the extra food in my community. Through my life, I've developed an appetite to work with others to ensure everyone has access to the nutritious food we need to thrive. Together, we can help end hunger. Come on, join the movement with Feeding America by volunteering, donating, and advocating. Learn more at feedingamerica.org/act now.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
So I am 20 years old, straight out of high school. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona to start my own business, selling furniture.
What does selling furniture look like?
So I go around picking it up, clean it up, take really good pictures, and sell it. I'll probably do about $100,000 this year net.
Wow. Some of you are standing around with your finger in your ear. And then you got a 20-year-old with a high school education that's making $100,000 flipping used furniture.
He's laughing all the way to the bank.
Financial advice for everyone. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio Manhattan area weather forecast. Right now, 54 with a light rain and plenty of wind. We're in that high wind warning until tomorrow at noon, with overnight gusts as high as 60 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation for the rest of today at 80%. Rain and snow tonight before 1. Then a chance of snow between 1 and 3. That chance at 90%. Tomorrow, patchy blowing snow before 11. After that, sunny and a high near 42.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! You jabronis hit the jackpot!
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan!
Ow! Is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the week.
Well, I just got a really interesting call. Apparently somebody has tried to charge, let's see here. Somebody in Dallas, Texas has tried to charge $525 to my credit card.
I think I may know why.
Why?
We'll get into it on this Jabroni segment.
Oh, yeah. Somebody, yeah.
I think they found out.
Yeah, there's
there was
problems
a leak
in
the
Dallas.
press.
Yeah, there's problems in Dallas, Texas. So, yeah, I just got off the phone with my credit card carrier, whatever you want to call it, and have a lot on my mind today, and that just popped up, so gonna have to deal with that. So here we go. 3 dishonorable mentions will culminate with my jabroni of the week. First, we're gonna go with everybody who's not celebrating their wins and championships AEW style, and like the Omaha Mavericks are. Their men's basketball team, ever since their coach freaked out after one game and beat up a trash can, they celebrate wins now by beating up a trash can. And AEW is getting ready to have a show in Omaha in a couple of weeks. Well, the Mavericks just won the Summit League, and there's actually a couple of things here. The Outrunners is a tag team on AEW. They're like an 80s throwback tag team, and they showed up for a pep talk. They won the game. They beat up a trash can in the locker room, and then this past weekend, winning the Summit League, one of their higher-ups at Omaha, one of their chancellors, was in a trash can. They brought the trash can out to center court, and she comes out of the trash can holding up an AEW championship. So everybody who's not celebrating like that needs to get on this level, because that's a good time.
It's electric.
All the social media stuff they've been doing has been solid, and it's going viral every time. And plus AEW in Omaha in 2 weeks, and I'm going to try to go up there and see that show. My next dishonorable mention is Alabama football coach Kalen DeBoer, because, boy, did he get the world's smallest violin playing for his comments to On3 about the change to NIL with the cap and the revenue share, 20 and a half, whatever it's going to be, $1 million that each athletic department will be able to spend on NIL for student athletes. That he said now, because of this, the way they're going with the revenue share, and they're going to be able to spend $15 million a year on football at Alabama, that it's going to make it a level playing field for Alabama to compete with everybody else in recruiting now. Now, here's how – look, I kind of understand where he's coming from with that comment, but I think I'd understand it a little bit more if it was coming from, like, P.J. Fleck at Minnesota, or from, I don't know, what's another example? I don't know, Mississippi. I don't know. Somebody who hasn't won 20 national championships over the last 40 years. It's like Kalen DeBoer didn't realize where exactly he's coaching. Now, for those that don't know, it's actually kind of weird, because Alabama does not have like the most lucrative funds that you think they would. They've lost out on some recruits, like to an Oregon, like to an Ohio State, to a Georgia. It kind of came down to some bidding wars, and they didn't have the funds to get that done. So that's kind of where he's coming from. But nobody is going to give Alabama any tears, because they don't have a few bucks like a couple of other schools have.
Yeah, it's just evening out the playing field. It's about stinking time.
All right, now, speaking of leveling the playing field, we all know the Dallas Mavericks have just been too good, so they need to cut down on the roster, trade some guys, make things more fair. Luka Doncic was traded back on Groundhog Day, and you're going to have to take care of this one, because now Kyrie Irving is out for the season with an ACL injury. So I'm giving it to the Dallas Mavericks fans as a dishonorable mention, because things are hell for them right now.
And actually, just moments ago, Shams, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's like the premier reporter on the NBA, was just on a talk show and said that they might not get Anthony Davis for the rest of the season because of his abdominal injury. So it's just a comedy of errors in Dallas. I feel bad for the fans, but also the front office put them in this situation, and obviously they were never going to predict a torn ACL for Kyrie Irving, and that sucks. Hey, everyone hates injuries, especially to someone like Kyrie, who's given so much to the game of basketball over the year. But man, and now they're like trying to steal your credit cards and stuff. It's come to a boiling point in Dallas. I saw a couple of Dallas fans that were selling their season tickets for the rest of the season. Also, the Mavericks ownership is bumping the price up for season tickets next year. So already some Mavericks fans that are not going to be renewing their tickets for next season. So it's bad. It's real bad right now in Dallas.
All right, my jabroni of the week. I'm going to go with the Florida Gulf Coast baseball social media person. Now, it may seem a little specific, but just hear me out on this one. So Florida Gulf Coast was playing a 4-game series at Georgia. Georgia, a very good team. And so in game 1 on Friday, the Eagles actually jumped out to a 5-0 lead. It was a pretty quick run. They went on early, and they're leading one of the best teams in the country. And somebody on social media decided to post, they supposed to be SEC, like trash talking middle of the game. Georgia ends up storming back. They win it in the 10th inning to walk off and beat Florida Gulf Coast. And then like somebody from that university says like, sorry about this. That was kind of a jinx. We ended up firing our social media person, which I think that was just a joke, but they made light of the dumb tweet they sent. 2 days later, game 3, Georgia's won the first 2. Ryland Zabrowski is just, he hits nukes. He's nuclear with the baseball bat. He's hit 36 home runs in his career. He hit one deep in the Saturday game. Well, then coming back to the Sunday game, one of the pitchers for Florida Gulf Coast ends up striking him out, and here comes another tweet from Florida Gulf Coast, and this one went 0 feet, 0 inches. Like just talking monster trash again on Georgia. Guess what happens? It aged poorly because of the bottom of the next frame. They go long. Ryland Zabrowski goes long to lead the comeback, ties the game at 8, and guess what? Georgia walked off again in the 10th inning. Back-to-back, 2 games in 3, they get jinxed by their own social media team.
You know, it's a bad look, but also I kind of respect it, like to a certain point where it's like middle of the game, you're up 5-1, and in baseball, there's no time limit. You have a lot of time to come back in a game, and instead they put their money where their mouths is. They talk trash. They own it after the fact. I kind of respect it from FGCU. I don't hate it.
I don't mind it if it like stands up, but when you then show up on freezing cold takes,
extremely funny. I love it. It's hilarious.
I mean, it's jabroni of the week material for sure. I mean, that's the definition of the jabroni right there. Eating your own words. All right, we got to take a break. And coming up next, to lead off hour number 2, we're going to be joined by Brian Smoller from K-State to talk Bad Cats, women's basketball. Do they need some work to get done to officially make sure they host the NCAA tournament? That's coming up next on KMAN.
The Trust Company is an independent, locally owned wealth management and investment company founded right here in Manhattan in 1992. The experienced professionals at the Trust Company are recruited specifically for their financial, legal, accounting, and business expertise. They're also your neighbors who, guided by your hopes and dreams, will continue to deeply understand your aspirations and goals. The Trust Company, locally owned, client-focused. Our only allegiance is to you. Visit thetrustco.com.
At the Meadowlark Memory Program, we're here to help, offering support, valuable education, and practical strategies for those facing memory challenges and their caregivers. The Memory Program serves the Flint Hills region and is completely free. No referrals, no registration required. Just come as you are whenever you can. All classes and meetings are open to everyone because memory loss is a journey and no one should walk it alone. Learn more at meadowlark.org.
Information you can use in an ever-changing healthcare environment. America's Healthcare Advocate, Carrie Hall, Saturdays on News Radio KMAN.
We're here to educate and inform on the topic of healthcare and health insurance. We've partnered with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas to bring you these shows to educate you on healthcare and health insurance issues. That's why we're doing these shows here on America's Healthcare Advocate.
Join Carrie Hall, America's Healthcare Advocate, Saturday mornings at 7 on News Radio KMAN.
Get your morning started with KMAN's Morning News, weekdays at 6.
Coming up Wednesday morning, the aftermath of the wind and the snow from overnight, as well as the aftermath from the president's speech on Capitol Hill to a joint session of Congress. All of your local news headlines, plus a preview of K-State basketball against Cincinnati. That's Wednesday morning.
KMAN's Morning News, weekday mornings, 6 to 9 on News Radio, KMAN. What? You want more? You got more. More of the game coming up next on News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.
K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast. That temperature rapidly dropping. We're down to 42 right now. Still that light rain with wind gusts as high as 38 currently. They also get as high as 45 this afternoon into the evening. Showers and possibly a thunderstorm. And tonight, rain and snow before 1. A chance of snow before 1, between 1 and 3. That chance at 90%. Gusts as high as 60 miles an hour. That's in that high wind warning until 12 tomorrow, as well as that blizzard warning tonight.
Well played with the music. Well played. I'm guessing you're playing the music because somebody's trying to steal from my credit card.
Have we gotten a result?
I've received a call and I've received a text that somebody was trying to charge $525.60 to my card. And it shows up as my Chase credit card. However, I got online and I looked at my account and saw no pending charge. So I started investigating a little bit.
Was it a scam?
I think this is a scam in here, and I'll show you why. And I should have looked at this first. There's actually a couple of things that stand out. I'm going to show the camera as we're live on YouTube. If you can see anything that looks suspicious, does that look okay? Can you see it?
You can see it close enough.
So there's a couple of things here. So in the text that I got, first of all, the guy calls me and says, "Sir, there's some suspicious activity." And I was like, "Well, dude, I'm doing a radio show. Can I call you back?" He's like, "Okay, but just so you know, we're at different times and this is a pending thing. You want to get this done now?" I was like, "That's red flag number one. This guy's pushing me to get this done."
While he has you on the phone.
First of all, it's like, why he has me on the phone? It's like, okay, you can put a freeze on this. This should not be a problem. Like, me having to do a radio show for another hour or so, or I'm going to leave a little bit early so I get to Junction City, get this done over the phone. This should not be a problem. You flagged it, freeze it up, we should be okay. He's pushing me to stay on the line and to get this done now. And I'm like, okay, that's red flag number one. Then I start taking a look at the text. And I thought this was actually pretty well done because I've had this actually happen before, where my credit card flags a purchase, it's potentially scam. Getting a text from your credit card carrier, or whatever you want to call it, is not uncommon. It's actually pretty common. But I should have noticed this at first. The number I got the text from was just like a regular number. Like there's an area code followed by 7 other digits. When you get a text from your credit card people, it should be like a 6-digit number or 5-digit number, something like that. Mm-hmm. So that was another red flag. And then I start looking at the text, and there's like no space between the question mark and then the next sentence. It's like little things like that. When you get a text from your credit card, it's going to be grammar-wise and spacing and all that stuff. It's like your English teacher did it.
Well, that's good news.
So it's absolutely a scam. But honestly, I've never been fooled. I know some people that have. I've never been caught up where I've sent money or sent information to people. I feel like I know better. But that was like the closest. Like I actually started thinking about this. Like this has happened before.
Well, I think the problem would have been when they try to execute put the finishing touches. It probably would have been, "Can you confirm your credit card?" And you'd be like,
yeah, start giving out the numbers.
That. Right.
Yeah. So in that case, I feel like I would have known
I
better.
think you're cerebral enough you would have caught on to that part.
When we're going to call Brian Smoller right now. We'll see if he's ever had to deal with those kind of things because. I tell you what, these scammers, I don't feel like they stick with the same plan for too much longer anymore. Like, I'm not getting calls anymore. I'm getting texts. And they're always different kind of texts. Like, there was a new one I saw, and it's an insurance thing. Because if you or somebody else, like, puts your number into an insurance thing where you're getting a quote about something, you typically won't be left alone for a while. Well, now, American Family Insurance or whatever, like as an example, they're going to keep posing like, hey, you sent a text one time or whatever, or like in some way they're going to say like, hey, we got you quoted at $25 for your car insurance. You need to give us a call ASAP. Turns out that's now becoming a scam, and that's really getting a lot of people really tied up, really put in a grind, really put in a jam. So luckily, that's no doubt about it. That is a scam text and call. I got both, a call and a text. I never texted it back. I never sent a text saying, yes, it's a scam. No, it's not a scam. I just didn't respond for a while, and now they're calling you up saying, like, what the hell's taking so long? We're scheduled to be joined by Brian Smoller here in just a moment. Jerome Tang, could he be landing 2 recruits this week for the 2025 class? More on that coming up later on this hour as well. I do have to leave a little bit early this hour to get to Junction City for high school hoops tonight. Manhattan at Junction City on the boys' side. It's a standalone game, sub-state semifinal, and that's going to tip off at 7 o'clock, and Cole will wrap up the show for the final 20 minutes or so. We are now pleased to be joined by Brian Smoller from K-State. You hear him on the K-State women's basketball broadcast on the radio and on TV, and the same for baseball as well, with the home opener now on Friday, 3 o'clock against William and Mary to open up a 3-game series. Brian, we were just talking about scams, and somebody just tried to scam me with a fake credit card alert. Have you ever been do you get those calls and texts often about scams?
Get a lot of them, but I'm freaked out by everything, so I'm pretty good about just letting all of it go and not paying attention, not replying. I usually text. I need like 3 or 4 times somebody reaching out to me before I acknowledge that it's a legitimate request. So it drives my wife crazy, but at that point I've passed the buck to her for all important information.
Like I said earlier, like before he came on here, I think these scammers are getting a lot better about looking authentic and, not raising red flags right away. They get you kind of hooked in for a minute. You got to do your own little investigation. Well,
and have you seen I've seen it online, and I've seen the warnings about it, but I've never experienced it. But have you seen that people use AI to, like, recreate your parents, so like your mom or your dad or your grandma's voice, and ask for money or ask for stuff? I mean, that's the part that's like frightening to me. Like, how would you tell? Like, I think there's even an ad that runs during our network games about how you have to have a code word from your family so that you know that's legitimate.
My grandma, before COVID, got one of those calls. I think this is even before AI is really a thing, at least for the general public. And somebody called up as like a cousin of mine saying that he's all jammed up in Cancun and needs $5,000 to get out of jail in Cancun, Mexico, and wanted them to wire the money. So, yeah, they're
unbelievable.
They're pretty creative. Brian Smoller from K-State is our guest. I want to lead off with baseball. The Cats play 11 games, all on the road. We're getting ready for a home slate here, but 6-5 on the road against so many ranked teams. How far ahead is K-State right now when it comes to, I guess, where they have been at this time in years past?
They're way ahead. That's just the simplest way to say it. Because of where they're located, because of the conference they're in, they're just going to be behind the 8 ball when you start in spring. And so you just talked about that before, about scheduling. You're going to have to go on the road, and they're usually on the road the first 3 weeks of the season. As you well know, you've helped us out doing those games in the past. And, you take your lumps because you're just trying to figure your team out. You don't know who's going to compete. You have a good idea through practice in the fall, but you don't really know until the lights come on who's going to do what in the moment when the pressure's on. And so you kind of take that first 3-4 weeks to kind of figure out, okay, this is the guy that's going to be coming out of the bullpen when we really need it in the 6th, or this is the guy that's really going to hold us down and line up in the middle of the order. And to be able to get those answers 2 weeks into the season already, and then to do it not only against good teams, but really good teams and good competition, that's the part where you say they're ahead. 6-5 doesn't sound great, but trust me, they're way ahead of schedule.
I mean, in my opinion, they've kind of played a bit of a gauntlet, especially, after the road trip to South Carolina, facing all these either current top 25 teams or preseason ranked. They have faced some really tough people, and they've come out for the most part the last 2 weekends unscathed. You've been covering baseball for K-State a long time, and you probably have a lot better memory than I do. You're probably the best, one of the best to answer this question. Maybe the other would be Matt Walters or Casey Scott. But have you ever covered a K-State team that has started this well in the first 2 or 3 weeks of a season?
No, and I was thinking about this the other day because we were talking about it at the office. The 2020 team, before the season got canceled, had kind of a similar feel to it. That was a starting rotation that had Jordan Wicks as the anchor and had some really good pitchers back from the year before in 2019. And I think they were primed to make a run. And COVID eventually wiped out that season. It lost you 1 year of Jordan Wicks. He comes back in 2021 and becomes the Big 12 Pitcher of the Year, and as we all know, first-round draft choice. But I think in 2020, they had just swept Stanford on the road and had come home and had kind of been in a similar spot where they lost like the first 3 or 4 games of the season, then hit their stride the second week, and were coming back home around 500, like 6-4. But we were like, everybody was like, man, this team's going to be really good. And then they lost the season to COVID. That's the only comparison I can think of, because in 2013, they kind of got off to a slow start, and it took a little bit of time for them to kind of get going. And in 2014, with everybody back, they got off to just a horrid start, and they went into a tailspin and never recovered. Thinking back to the other teams that were regionals 2009 to 2012, and that gap and that time, they really never had early season success. They were okay, but they didn't play great competition. They didn't play competition anywhere close to what this competition is, and I think that's the separator.
Is there a player or two, pitcher, defense, bats, whatever, a player or two that has impressed you the most so far?
The fact that all of the guys that they picked out of the portal have hit this quick, that part has surprised me. It usually takes some time for guys to adjust, especially if you're jumping up a level. And by that, I mean you're going from a Columbia like Seth Dardar, who didn't play all of last year, right? I mean, the guy's been injured. He hasn't played baseball since 2023, and he played in the Ivy League. And he's only played 1 year in the last 4 because 2 years were wiped out in COVID, and last year he was hurt. And he steps on the field, and the guy's dominated from the word go, and against really good teams. Like, you've seen people have success early before, but they're playing, Northwest school, state school of the blind. I mean, it's just, not a powerhouse or a ranked team. These guys are doing it against really good opponents. Maximus Martin coming up from a smaller school and doing it at the power forward level. Aaron Madliak, and then the pitching has been as good as you had hoped for. Jacob Frost has taken that what you hoped would be a step forward. He did it. He's to his credit, and then. The Corvedo's been as good as advertised, and then Lincoln Sheffield, coming from the junior college route, has really impressed early. Now, people are going to figure them out here after a couple of starts, and they'll be on those guys to adjust back. How are they going to adjust to people adjusting to them? That'll be the interesting thing here over the next few weeks.
Again, a reminder, today or tomorrow's game against Creighton, that has been canceled, and there could be a makeup date later on, but that game against Creighton not going to be happening tomorrow due to the weather. So the home opener now 3 o'clock Friday against William and Mary to open up a 3-game series. Brian, for a few more moments here, I want to switch over to K-State women's basketball. Cats do end the regular season losing 3 of their last 4. Pretty tough competition, but they end up with the 5 seed in the Big 12 tournament. I wanted to pick your brain about K-State's status right now as when it comes to hosting the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. Right now, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I feel like K-State has some work to do, but right now, how do you feel about their chances?
I think everybody realizes that they're right where they were last year, which is right on that cut line. And you could make one day an argument they're in, and one day an argument they're out. And I think the difference between last year and this year is that this is what you hope the committee would take into account, is that with Ayoka in the lineup, that they are a top 10 team. I mean, they have just absolutely they haven't just beaten teams; they have absolutely dominated teams when she's there. 24 points at Utah plus win. That's a great win. They beat Creighton by 24 at home. I mean, Creighton's in the top 25 right now. They beat Middle Tennessee State, who's going to be in the tournament, They beat them by near 30 points on a neutral court. So Texas A&M, who upset many of those teams that are being talked about as a top 16 team, A&M beat a lot of those teams in College Station. K-State went down there and won by 40. So, I mean, the numbers bear it out. That's the part that you hope, and this is what you don't know. You have no control over what the committee decides to use as a criteria for selecting teams. Jill Shields, who oversees K-State women's basketball and is the deputy athletic director at K-State, SWA, she has been in that room in years past as part of the committee, and she says it's year to year. You never know. One year they do talk about that. Who's out? Who's injured? Who will be back? Another year they just look at resumes and they look at numbers. And they just kind of blindly pick A, B, and C teams and not really think much about those impacts of players and who's been out and who's playing well. So, as Jeff Eddy said last night, and you said it at the intro here, all you can do is worry about yourself and win games. And I think going to Kansas City, I think K-State here feels like they got to win at least 2 and just to feel good about their chances come here on Selection Sunday here in a couple of weeks.
Ryan, a couple more questions for you. The All Big 12 honors coming out today for the women's basketball side. The coaches vote on that. K-State with 5 players receiving honors, all different honors, led by Serena Sindel, All-League first-team selection for the second year in a row. Any snubs, or were you okay with the way things played out?
I don't think there was any big surprise on those. The only one I think that you could have made an argument on was Madison Connor being first team for TCU. I think Sarah Andrews from Baylor certainly deserved maybe if you were going to flip-flop spots, I think that'd be the only one. But other than that, you really don't have too many complaints there. I think for Kansas State, it's a great honor for Zy Walker to be recognized for her defensive efforts, and then Jalen Glenn to be honorable mention All Big 12 is another, I think, recognition from the coaches that she does so much beyond the box score and in points. Sometimes some games she's going to lift you up with points, other games it's rebounds and steals and being a glue player. So it's pretty cool to be able to see those honors delivered to those players, no doubt.
Last thought, did you have Haley Van Lith as your Big 12 Player of the Year?
I have no problem with her being the Player of the Year. I mean, because if you win the league as a team, I think you got to – historically, it has always been whoever wins the league, the player from that team is usually voted on by the coaches to be Player of the Year. And, there was some thought that maybe she and Prince would split the vote, but I think if you look at them and what they were a year ago with Prince and Connor on that team, the difference maker this year is Van Lith. I mean, she's what made it go. I think she's played the best basketball of her career and well-deserved of both that and the newcomer.
I personally felt J.J. Quinterly should have been that Big 12 Player of the Year. Where land if there was an announced pecking order or ranking? Where do you think J.J. would land?
Oh, may have lost you there for a second, Mitch. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah. So I personally picked J.J. Quinterly to be my Big 12 Player of the Year. If there was like a ranking of players and a pecking order of who was the best, if you had a guess of how the vote panned out, where do you think J.J. would rank?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, if there was anybody beyond Van Lith, if it was going to win, I mean, listen, the argument you would have made is numbers versus team result, right? So Audie Crooks at Iowa State, numbers absolutely should be in a conversation for Player of the Year. But Team Iowa State was largely disappointing for most of the year. I think they're playing their best basketball right now. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to be a real problem for people in the postseason. But hard to name her Player of the Year, I think, just based on their finish. Serena certainly would have been in that conversation, and I think she was. I think she did get a lot of recognition for that. I just don't know, because of how K-State finished, that she got as much publicity. Listen, if the season had ended right after that TCU game and that win in Manhattan, I think hands down she's the winner.
Yep.
And but as the season went on, it just kind of slipped away from her a little bit. And Baylor, a team that's largely made up of their parts, not necessarily one great player, is the reason why they didn't have someone that was kind of in that mix.
Do you think it's going to be BYU or UCF that K-State plays on Thursday? Oh, may have lost Brian again. Brian, can you hear me? Oh, I think Brian's cutting out on us. Oh, yep, we lost him. That's what I thought. I don't know where he's at. Looked like he was at a small Mardi Gras gathering or something.
Yeah, when I called him, I could hear the chattering in the background. I was like, this could be interesting, but I think it was fine, except for the very end, obviously.
No, it's okay. I think it's BYU that's going to move on. I don't think agree. UCF is that good.
Gibbs
BYU should be a little bit better. What's that?
Gibbs is a beast, the freshman.
Yep. She is very good. She's going to be around for a while. That's going to be another. That's the one. It's like a JJ Quinterly who was at West Virginia since day one and was just super good. I thought Brian did bring up some good comments, but I just can't think that way. There's an award for the best team in the Big 12, and that's the Big 12 champion. And I just can't automatically go to the Big 12 championship team to pick out a Big 12 player of the year. I got to really evaluate what each player has done individually. All right. Let's go ahead and take a timeout. Tell Brian thank you. Just tell him thank you if he called back. That's okay. We totally understand. He's got to get back to his Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday party. So I'll let Cole wrap up the phone call, and then we'll take a break. All right, when we come back, because I got a few more minutes left here on today's show, back to what Jerome Tang and company can do this week to finally get the momentum rolling for the 2025 recruiting class. Coming up next on The Game.
Miss any of the show? Check out The Game podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and of course, NewsRadioKMAN.com. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
No matter if your flight is departing or arriving, travel is more convenient when you fly local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Connect to anywhere in the world with 5 daily flights to Dallas and Chicago. Plus, by booking your next flight through Manhattan Regional Airport, you'll spend less time driving, saving you both gas and time. Why spend hours on the road when you can spend more time at your destination? Or more importantly, getting home quicker to the ones you love. Get back to the convenience of flying local with Manhattan Regional Airport. Click your next flight at flymhk.com.
At Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care is right around the corner.
Stormont Vale Health is more than just a hospital. We're an essential part of your community. Our commitment to quality health care means investing in the most skilled and talented providers and cutting-edge medical technology. Our investment in your well-being doesn't stop there. We also support various nonprofit programs throughout the communities we serve. Visit stormontvale.org and discover how we can serve you.
Stormont Vale Health, high-quality care, closer to home.
American Family Insurance.
At American Family Insurance, your small business is a big deal to us. You face challenges and you work hard to achieve your goals. As your American Family agent and business owner right here in your community, I've faced that too. I've built my business with the vision of helping you protect yours. Contact us today to see how we can protect what you've worked so hard to build with customized coverage that fits your needs. This is Rob Wild, agent at Wild & Associates, LLC.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Out here, in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Stress builds up, you have trouble sleeping, maybe your mind is racing and you just don't feel like yourself. So what do? We get help. Lots of people are struggling with their mental health. It's more common than you think. The good news is, there are people in our community who are here for us when times are tough. Sometimes, Just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world, so we don't feel so alone. One thing you can do is visit loveyourmindtoday.org for simple steps you can take to find the right solution for you. Whether it's hearing stories about what other people are going through or finding the resources we need to navigate the stresses in our lives. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen on News Radio KMAN.
There's a lot of history in the south end of Manhattan. We'll be joined by Sheila Ellis Gasper, the black entrepreneur to the Flint Hills, talking about the Yuma Street Cultural Center in Manhattan. Wednesday.
Within Reason with Mike Madsen. Weekday mornings at 9 on News Radio KMAN.
I'm Cole Deutschendorf with a game sports update. Due to inclement weather, the Creighton at K-State baseball game tomorrow has been postponed to a later date, which has not yet been determined. All games this weekend remain as planned, with William and Mary starting Friday at 2:30 with first pitch at 3. K-State women's basketball saw a quintet of players named among the All-Big 12 squads as the league office announced those teams this morning. Senior guard Serena Sundell was named to the All-Big 12 first team, while senior center Ayoka Lee earned All-Big 12 second team honors, and senior forward Tamira Poindexter was named to the All-Big 12 third team. Senior guard Jalen Glenn was named All-Big 12 honorable mention, and sophomore guard Ziana Walker was named to the All-Big 12 defensive team. With 5 different players earning a spot on All-Big 12 teams, this is the first time in program history that K-State has reached that mark since the league was formed in 1996 and 97. This is the 10th straight season K-State has had 2 or more players earn All-Big 12 honors. Lee was named to an All-Big 12 team for the 5th time in her career. Sundell collected her 2nd straight All-Big 12 first-team honor and her 4th straight All-Big 12 citation, as she was an honorable mention recipient in her first 2 seasons. For the first time since 1992, Manhattan High will play postseason basketball at Junction City. That's tonight with pregame at 6:45, tip at 7 on News Radio KMAN.
The game continues on KMAN. Mitch Fortner with Cole Deutschendorf. We're with you until Cole's going to be with you until 6. I got to bounce here in a little bit to get to Junction City High School, but Cole will take you the rest of the way. Thinking about, should I block this scammer? Just block him? I'm curious if he calls me back, and I feel like I can mess with the person. You know what I mean? There's an opportunity for some content.
100% is.
Happy Fat Tuesday for those that celebrate. Fat Tuesday mean anything to you, Cole?
I'm not really familiar. I mean, I've seen some stuff when doing some lines for Z96.3, but I'm not too familiar with what it is.
I mean, on like a religious side of things. Like, okay, you're not Catholic or anything.
No, I'm not.
Lent doesn't matter to you or anything?
Not a ton.
I always thought Mardi Gras would be a good time. I love New Orleans. I love Bourbon Street. I love the French Quarter. Got a cousin that lives in New Orleans and says the Fat Tuesday celebration or the Mardi Gras celebration is always a good time. So one of these days I'll give it an old go. Got a sweet, saw a pretty awesome tweet. Is it called tweets anymore?
It's a great question. It's not called like X. Like I think tweet probably is still the terminology.
Ashton McGee is a 2025 recruit, and he's a 6'7" wing, 205 pounds, an extremely athletic kid who just visited K-State over the weekend. He announced 7 hours ago that he's making his college commitment announcement tomorrow from South Jones High School, where he's from there in Madison, Mississippi. You know, it's been obviously a quiet recruiting class for K-State because the Cats only picked up 1 so far for 2025. Which, I mean, technically that's kind of how it went last year with the pickup of David Castillo, and then it was going to go the rest of the transfer portal. But, you know, Jerome Tang has said they want some more guys out of the high school ranks. They need to develop guys. They need the continuity. They need guys to stick around for a while and to be born through this program. So that is the goal. But, well, Jerome Tang took some big swings in for the 2025 class so far. A.J. DeBonsta, the number 1 recruit in the nation, he's going to BYU. Darren Peterson, the number 2 recruit according to On3, he's off to KU. Cam Ward, not the quarterback from Miami who might go first overall in the draft. I'm talking about the basketball player for the class of 2025, ranked 49th in the class that K-State heavily recruited, and he's off to Michigan State. K-State went over, trying to recruit the best players in the country. So things have to change. They have to pivot, and really the only choice is, as so many of the top talent has been locked up for their signings and who they've committed to for 2025, they got to find these late bloomers, these risers in the class, and see if they can get a couple of these guys. Well, Ashton McGee just had a pretty solid visit. Loved his time in, by the way, as a senior in high school this year, 6'7" guy. He's putting up some monster numbers, averaging 24 points, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, shooting 57%. 3-point shooting needs to get better. Let that develop. No worries there. But he's now starting to get some D1 offers, and here comes K-State, who's already offered him, by the way. K-State certainly in the mix. This is somebody that K-State could land tomorrow. And then on top of that as well, you have a guy like Xavier Wilson, who also just visited this weekend. He's from Columbia, Missouri. Jerome Tang always wants a point guard in his class. This could very well be that next recruit. He is looking to commit tomorrow on Thursday at 2:00. I don't have any numbers on him. He did comment to On3, Case in a Line On3, about his visit, and he loved it. He loved the visit. He loved talking with Jerome Tang and the staff, just sitting down, talking, being very transparent within one another, and talking about what each of them are looking for. He's already visited West Virginia, so the Mountaineers are in the mix as well. But he has an opportunity to stay closer to home and play some Division I basketball. He has visited Missouri, but right now I don't believe they have offered him. And so can K-State land back-to-back recruits, high school guys, for the 2025 class tomorrow and Thursday? We stayed tuned on that one, but it's late than never. K-State has an opportunity to build some pretty solid momentum now for recruiting in 2025, because right now, keep in mind, for this next class, things are changing where, I mean, we're seeing it in all sports. We're seeing changes for the most part, not every sport, but for the most part, we're seeing changes in scholarship opportunities, bigger rosters. And for men's basketball, that scholarship number is changing from 13 to 15. It's like women's basketball now. You're going to have 15 spots. K-State has room to add more guys. So, I mean, the way things stand right now, that's assuming that Max Jones isn't going to get a waiver to play another year of basketball because he played at the Division II level. You know, K-State's going to have at least 5 spots to fill, and that, you know, that includes a spot already filled by Tyreek Smith, who transferred in. He's another wing that transferred in from Memphis. He's already played all over the country, including Texas Tech, including Oklahoma State. He's already played so much Big 12 basketball, but with a year left of eligibility, he's already with the team. He's just not eligible to play this year. And I know you're watching some film earlier today on these guys, Cole, especially on Ashton McGee. He is a late bloomer, but if you watch a little bit of film, he's definitely a Jerome Tang 6'7" wing type of guy. If you look at the athleticism, you think of who K-State has had with that kind of play, you think of a Naquan Tomlin, you think of maybe a Moby Ike Garuka when it comes to potentially that raw athleticism, being able to jump out of the gym. That's what stood out to me first, jumping out of the gym. That guy can put on a show when it comes to dunks, highlight plays. He's also got a shot to him as well, and he can play defense.
And I think he'd be a perfect fit for this team. They don't really have necessarily a true wing this year. You can say Coleman maybe, but he's 6'10", 6'11", plays more like a point guard in that center or forward's body. Unless I'm forgetting someone, it's a pretty guard-heavy team. You didn't really – your person in that 6'6" range would have been I'm forgetting his name right now.
Chor.
Yes, it would have been a Chor who was in that more traditional wing spot. So it would be nice to have someone who's kind of the size of Keontae Johnson and have someone who has that athleticism in that wing spot. And as we said in that first segment of Hour 1, if you can work on some of his outside game, he looks extremely comfortable with the ball in his hands. It's just maybe working on some fluidity with that jumper. I think he would be a phenomenal fit. You already know how this team is able to grow the point guard position. That's never been a problem with Jerome Tang teams. You see it with Doug this year, and obviously the last 2 years with Perry and obviously Marquise. So if you can have someone who plays like a Keontae, not to say that their games are identical, but someone who can kind of fill that spot and that role on this team, and especially if you can retain him for multiple years and use him as a building block, foundational piece for this team, I think that's only going to bode well for you down the road.
Really took off this summer. Really started to generate his status this summer, and then in high school ball this year, I mean, just completely. I don't know if he just went through a growth spurt or something, but has really caught the attention of those in college basketball that are looking for a guy like that late in the class, or, you know, when it comes to late this season. Still recruiting, and there's still obviously a lot of recruiting going to take place, but you're thinking portal, maybe not necessarily high school, because so many guys have already signed, obviously. We've already had signing periods and a signing class. Go ahead.
And you already saw the transition from recruiting more high school for Jerome Tang specifically. I mean, you had 3 guys in the class 2 years ago, and then last year was just David. You lost a couple of those freshmen from his second season. So you already saw kind of maybe the coaching staff's pivoting to a different style of how they're going to attack the recruitment aspect of the game, where it's a focus on the transfer portal. And they've had great talent through the transfer portal. It's just been last year there was some injury problem and some Naquan Tomlin off the court issues. And then this year you definitely had the talent, but it's just been, for whatever reason, hasn't meshed the entire time.
So this scammer, back to the scammer.
Oh yeah,
this has been a developing story. I've received 3 calls over the last 6 minutes. So obviously this is a scam.
Yeah.
This guy's pushing me to get this. Like,
are they leaving messages?
Like, if this was somebody that worked, no text, but I got a voicemail. If this was somebody that was actually working for a credit card company or whatever, you would assume these people have other people to worry about, that they don't have the time to just keep calling you and keep calling you and bugging you. I was going to see if I could open up this, see if this works.
Nigga know that.
I think I got butt dialed.
You might have.
Because it's nothing.
It's indiscernible.
Like, hello, Mr. Fortner. Yeah,
right.
I don't know. It's like, hello, Mr. Fortner. This is blah, blah, blah from blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that. I got butt dialed. A scammer butt dialed me. So there you go. It's like, you know.
I think that confirms it.
Yeah.
Be pretty hard to butt dial you when you're working in a corporate office as a customer service.
Yep. All right, I got to get to Junction City High School. Cole will take you the rest of the way. Going to talk some Chiefs.
Yes, we're going to get our Chiefs fix for the week. The older I've gotten, which I say old, I'm 21, but the older I've gotten, the more I enjoy the offseason aspect of the NFL. And there's some interesting piece of news from late last week.
All right, Cole, take you the rest of the way. Go Cats.
Your home for K-State sports.
Miller throwing for the end zone. He's looking for Lockett, who makes the catch. Touchdown, K-State on the final play of the game. Kevin Lockett from Matt Miller on the last play of the game. Are you kidding me?
This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Hey, K-State fans, single-game tickets for all 23 home games of the 2025 K-State baseball season are on sale now. Order your tickets today and make plans to catch the Wildcats in action this spring as they build on last year's 35 wins, regional championship, and super regional appearance. To purchase tickets, call 1-800-221-2287 or visit kstatesports.com. We can't wait to see you in Poynton.
If Kansas weather has taught us anything, it's to be prepared for everything. It's time to call M&S Plumbing, Heating, and Air to make sure your furnace is ready. From full safety inspections to replacing your furnace, M&S Plumbing will keep you and your family warm this winter. If it's been a while since you've had your furnace serviced and inspected, be sure to call and schedule your appointment today. Simple fixes now can save you big money later.
Call the experts who care. M&S Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Suicide is often a silent struggle, but no one has to face it alone. If you or someone you love is feeling hopeless, remember, there is help and there is hope. Reaching out is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. Together, we can turn pain into healing and despair into strength. Help is always available. Visit Pawnee Mental Health's Crisis Stabilization Unit at 1558 Hayes Drive or call our crisis hotline at 1-800-609-2002. Both available 24/7. You don't have to face this alone. Help is just a call away.
The Native community is big for me. Makes me feel good to pass on our Arapaho traditions. My kids love going up to the Sundance. I like to tell people the Sundance is about family. It's about the tribe. It's not just about the dancer. It's kind of like life. As a Sundancer, I'm just one spoke in the wheel. I need my family there. I need my role models. I need my people there, especially my children. Coming in that door, my family is ready to see me and they believe in me. Before, I'd never seen that from my people. But now when I walk in that door and I see those smiling faces and they're happy to see me, that's special. With my 4 kids, all I ask for them in Arapaho ways is health and happiness. Nothing more, nothing less.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The word father means a lot to me. Being that support system for them, and as a man, that's important in a child's life. I think men can be a little stubborn sometimes where they may want the help, they may not know how to ask. It's hard for a man to speak his emotions. Those tears, they mean something. In a Arapaho way, tears are water and water is life. And when you shed those tears, that's love. That's real love. Sometimes as dads, I think we're too hard on ourselves. Life can come at you really quick, and it can be really tough at times. But then you put that one foot in front of the other, and you keep doing the right thing. Slowly that voice goes away, Arapaho way, you gotta pray for yourself, as well as for everybody else, but never forget yourself.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
The Ramsey Show.
The problem is the stupid banks will loan you so much money that they put you in bankruptcy because they don't have an off button. They'll just loan you money.
Mm-hmm.
You can go get a credit card. You can go on a trip you can't afford. You can go down here and get a car. There's actually people out there walking around that still think that if the bank will loan it to you, it means you can pay
afford it.
The same people that think if you have checks left in your checkbook, there must be money in the account.
Mm-hmm.
Same people.
Life and money advice. The Ramsey Show. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on News Radio KMAN.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area weather forecast. The latest update, we have 42 degrees out right now, 38 mile an hour wind gusts. Later this evening, showers and possibly a thunderstorm, steady temperature around 42. That wind gust getting as high as 45 miles per hour. Tonight, rain and snow before 1, and then chance of snow between 1 and 3 at 90%. Wind gusts as high as 60 miles an hour. We're in that high wind warning until tomorrow at noon. A blizzard warning for tonight. Welcome back to the game. I'm Cole Deutschendorf, taking you the rest of the way here in hour 2. Mitch Fortner heading out to Junction City for the first round of Sub-State for Manhattan on either the boys or the girls side. Manhattan taking on Junction City. The first time those two teams have met in Junction City in the playoffs since 1992. So trying to make it the third time's the charm for Manhattan. They lost the first 2 games against Junction City, both of them kind of in heartbreaking fashion, trying to get it done in the third contest. They say it's harder to beat the team on that third time around, especially when those first 2 games have been so hard fought the entire way. Before we get into this last segment, some housekeeping things to go over. Again, that game tonight will start at 6:45 pregame here on News Radio KMAN. Mitch Fortner going to be on the call. Chris Swick, I believe, in the studio. Tomorrow's baseball home opener is postponed/canceled. We don't have a new date just yet. So now their home opener will now be Friday against William and Mary, with pregame starting at 2:30. First pitch at 3. Men's basketball tomorrow as they're taking on Cincinnati in Ohio. That'll start pregame at 5 on 101.5 K-Rock, because we're going to have Manhattan High girls at 5:45 as they take on Mays in their first round of the playoffs. Okay, what I want to talk about here as we end this show is some Chiefs news. This hit late last week. It was on Thursday, where it came out that the Chiefs had informed Pro Bowl guard Trey Smith they will use the franchise tag on him. That was reported by ESPN's Adam Schefter on Thursday. And I'm going to just right up front tell you that I don't know a ton I don't know too much in depth of the salary cap and all, because there's a ton of jargon and a lot of details that go into the salary cap and everything that entails, guaranteed money, signing bonuses, that sort of thing. I'm not a genius when it comes to that, but I understand the baseline that you kind of need to understand. So I'll go over this really quickly. While it was a non-exclusive franchise tag, which means that Smith could, in theory, still sign with another team in free agency, there's just basically a 0% chance that will happen because the team in question that he would sign with would then have to give up 2 first-round picks to the Chiefs. This will never happen. So Smith will be on the team for at least 1 more year unless he is traded. But what's come out in reports from Chiefs reporters is that this is not a L'Jarius Sneed scenario from last year when the Chiefs franchise tagged L'Jarius Sneed and then dealt him to the Titans, which, by the way, that pick is now the number 1 pick in the 3rd round. The Chiefs have 4 draft picks within the top 100 picks, only 6 total, but 4 of those high equity draft picks, and this is going to be a pivotal year in the draft. I digress. This 1-year deal for Trey Smith is worth over $23 million, which would make Smith the highest paid guard in the league as he passes up Philadelphia Eagles guard Landon Dickerson, who's currently at $21 million per year. How the franchise tag works on the O-line is you automatically are paying basically no matter what position, whether it was center, left guard, right guard, or tackle, you're going to be paying premium tackle price. So that's why Trey Smith's cap hit would be so high currently. The Chiefs now have until July 15th to agree to a long-term contract with Trey Smith, which is their goal. A large reason why the Chiefs thought that this would now become possible, because just a couple of weeks it was reported that the odds of the Chiefs using the franchise tag at all, and especially on Smith, were next to none. And instead, they decided to use that tag because of the increasing cap. It's up $24 million from last year, $279 million this year, $255 last year, and this made about an $8 to $10 million jump from what the expected jump was going to be. So they thought it was going to be around $270 for the cap, and instead we're near $280 in that mark. That was the biggest reason why the Chiefs felt that they could pretty comfortably get together a long-term extension done with Trey Smith. They want to get a 5-year extension done, and again, they have until July 15th to agree to that contract, to agree to those terms. If they don't get it done before that date, it'll just be Smith playing on the franchise tag. Again, this is an unlike last year's situation where the L'Jarius Sneed tag was basically just so they could find a willing partner to deal Sneed and get him a long-term deal done, because the Chiefs had chosen to sign Chris Jones, which I think was the right move. And so dealing Sneed kind of became a must. Otherwise, you're going to have a ton of money tied up on the defensive side with just those 2 players. For right now, in the short term, it kind of handcuffs the Chiefs. It's similar to the Chris Jones situation last year, where Smith will now, by default, be the premier free agent, I say that with air quotes, that the Chiefs pick up, even though it's just retaining a homegrown star. The cap situation, the Chiefs currently stand at $17 million over the cap, can and probably will be alleviated by some pretty easy moves, mainly those involving reconstructing some of their stars' contract. Patrick Mahomes, he's going to get a roster bonus, or the signing bonus that always frees up anywhere between 10 to 15 million. And then also Chris Jones with his large contract, if you move some of his money around to be guaranteed money, that's going to free up some more spending cash for the Chiefs in free agency, whether it's retaining players that they need on the defensive side of the ball, moving forward with players such as Hollywood Brown or DeAndre Hopkins on offense. Just it gives them more of an idea of what they're going to have to work with during this free agent side of the offseason. So now it really becomes whether or not Clark Hunt will be willing to spend cash in the early offseason. The Chiefs traditionally have been a middle-of-the-road team when it comes to cash spending. Around that 20 mark is where they've been averaging. They had an outlier last year, maybe in search of that three-peat, at the 9th most spending cash in the league. There are some problems that I think that this brings up with re-signing Trey Smith to that, currently the franchise tag, and then potentially moving forward with a 5-year extension. Interior is not necessarily the issue that the Chiefs struggled with this past season. As we all well know, it was the edge, especially that left side. It was a revolving door situation at the left tackle. You looked at Kinsley Suamataia, who was drafted in the 2nd round last year. Wanye Morris was drafted in the 2023 draft. He struggled with injury on that left knee, but also just getting beat. Kinsley, I think, was more of just an inexperience, and I hope to see him grow moving forward. Otherwise, he's going to basically probably turn into a backup guard until either Tooney or now Trey Smith will be off the team. Another thing that this signing does is it limits your roster building, at least for right now. Until you get this long-term extension hammered out with Trey Smith, you're somewhat limited in what you can do with your money. You don't have hardly any cap space, and you don't know for sure if you're going to be able to hammer out that deal. So it could restrict some things for the Chiefs moving forward in the early part of free agency. And right now, it's a ton of money tied up on the O-line. Creed Humphreys, the current highest paid center. Trey Smith, currently the highest paid right guard at $23 million per year. Joe Tooney is a top 7 left guard. He may get extended. That would actually help the Chiefs alleviate some of that cap pressure. And then Juwan Taylor, who has not been a top 3 right tackle, is paid as a top 3 right tackle. So that's definitely a problem. You have a ton of resources poured into that offensive line that hasn't been good. It was probably the reason you lost the Super Bowl against the Eagles a month ago. Another issue that it's not as big of an issue as those previous 3. The scheme fit for Trey Smith, it's not phenomenal. Trey Smith is amazing in the run game, and then he is solid but not great in the pass game. When you have a pass-happy offense with Andy Reid and more than Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes at the helm of the offense, you want to maximize what you can do in the passing game. Now, that to say, if you get rid of Trey Smith, you're going to have a downgrade on that guard spot. So I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world. And ultimately, this is my biggest takeaway. I'm going to put my trust in Brett Veach, the Chiefs general manager. My trust in him building this team is ultimately going to be in him. He's done it every time, and I trust him to get it done. I don't think it's going to be any different this time around. Well, that does it for hour 2 of the game. Between now and Mitch's game in Junction City, we're going to set it just to ESPN Radio, and then pregame will begin at 5:45 tonight. Again, tomorrow, K-State men's basketball taking on Cincinnati. That'll start at 5 on 101.5 K-Rock. We'll have Manhattan High girls basketball, 5:45 pregame tomorrow on K-Man, and then baseball, their home opener on Friday at 2:30 with first pitch at 3. Tomorrow, Mitch Palm, KSO, and women's basketball Big 12 preview. Go Cats.
At McCown Gordon Construction, we improve lives by building authentic relationships. No matter the project size, our clients enjoy unmatched talent and resources in the Manhattan area market. Early collaboration with our pre-construction team ensures cost certainty, preventing surprises. Whether it's education space for learning or healthcare space for healing, we build to serve the community. McCown Gordon Construction, proud builder for K-State and the KSU Foundation. Visit